Okay, so now we are ready to make a peony. Can I have one closed? I mean, the peony that is made, we could just share. So if you are new around in here for sugar flowers, like most of you said, you are new, right? So this is the flower that we are just going to try and make right now, an open peony. And that has a bud. I mean, the ovaries here, and then there are stamens. The stamens are non-edible. And the ovaries, the green ones, are made with gum paste, and then all these petals are wired. So why we make a rose is not wired. We've been attaching the layers one around on the other, right, layers. Here they are not stuck. Each petal is individually wired, and then we kind of tape it together. And then there are just two sizes based on the size of the petals and the number of layers we are using. So we're just going to start making one of this. I'm going to show how we are going to wire the petal, vein it and ruffle it, and how you're going to shape it. And because there are 4 sizes, and we're just going to shape each of them in the way that I'll tell you, like another easy technique. And then we're going to make the center, and how we're going to attach the stamens, and then put everything together. And I'm also going to include airbrushing in this particular lesson, and we're going to airbrush the peony. Because rose was done with petal dust, I thought we just include another interesting technique, which is airbrush for the flower. Okay, so let me just set this aside. And then I have the gum paste with me. It's just a little bit of ivory color that was added. And most of you kept asking me, this is the homemade gum paste, like that, because it kind of dries well. And sometimes drying is not very fancy. People want, like, flexible flowers. But at the end of the day, if they don't hold up to humidity, then even whatever hard work you do, and they're just not going to stand well until you're ready to put on the cake, right? So again, for this, you need a quite thin petal, because there will be like 20-24 petals that will go on the flower, one flower. So if the rolling is going to be thick, then the flower's weight will get added up more. So my logic, my technique to roll thin is to start from the middle, put enough pressure and roll it out, or roll it towards you. From the outside, roll it towards you. And if the sheet does not move, which means there is no corn flour and it is sticky on the bottom. So what do? Brush some gum paste. Brush some corn flour. And now it moves, and it will be easier for the sheet of gum paste to roll furthermore thin. And now I'm going to do one of each petal, because there are 4 sizes. And now for those peony, which is new for you, most of the tools are quite the same. There are wires that are going to come in picture, and then there are these cutters. And now we have 4 sizes, the biggest. So this will be size number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to make all the 4, because drying will just be a little different. And the wires are floral wires. I'm going to use the size number 24 for the petals. And I'm going to use a wire cutter and cut the wires into half. And I'm going to use 4 such wires cut. 2 wires cut into 4, and I'm going to use that. And the first thing I'll do, because I had rolled out the gum paste, I just need to cut it out. Now, the rose cutter will be quite stable, but then the designs or the pattern that just comes out of the peony cutter usually is made with a very thin stainless steel. And so cutting out like this, how I did for the rose, is not going to be quite easy. So you could just try out this way, where you place the gum paste, thinly rolled gum paste, on the cutter and then use the rolling pin to roll it out. Because if you cut the other way, like how we did for the rose, it's not going to have a clean cut. That'll be one. I'm just going to use this. So immediately just take it in your hand and then knead it up. So what we're going to do, have 6 in each size. And as we are taping, we'll see how it goes. I have already made and they're dried, as we will just use them for taping. Now, once the petals are cut, immediately they will go into Ziplocs. And just get the air out. Fold the top and then have a damp cloth and then put the petals inside. So the petals are cut. Now, for wiring, we have the wires here. And now we are going to make something called a sausage. Okay. I'm going to keep the sizes of the cutters here. I'm going to get the wire. Let me just move this from the craft mat so you don't get to see the lines. So the size of the sausage is based on the size of the cutter. Now this is a full length of the cutter, right? Now measure the wire, that is more than half of the petal. Just hold there. And take like a peppercorn sized gum paste and press it out. Start from the bottom. Just press and just say, press it on either end like this and start rolling it. It has to be neat. And if there's anything excess beyond the height or the length of the wire, that will be removed. And you just want it like an agarbatti, thinner than an agarbatti, maybe, if you want to just relate to something that you already know. So that will be the thickness of the sausage, and that sausage also cannot keep drying, and that will go into another Ziploc. And immediately seal it, and that will again go under the damp cloth. Now similarly, I'll get more than half the height of the petal. Take a peppercorn sized gum paste. Roll it and get to the top of the wire. We're just making sausages so we could wire the petal and make a wire petal basically. So it's so very important that after each sausage, they just covered and go inside the damp cloth. Measuring the height. Hold where you measured and then build the sausage. So you'll have 4 different sizes of the sausages made pertaining to each size of the cutter. Now the last one. Neat, uniform, and don't take too much time to do because that will also dry out. So I'm just going to wrap the gum paste. And the next thing you need is cups to cup the petals. Now, if you see, this is one petal because you want the petals to just take a shape. You don't want it to be like quite flat, right? So now this cup shape has to be formed and they're quite dry now. They were made yesterday. I'm going to use it to tape and show. Okay, so for this shape, we need some shapers. There are flower forming cups and there are quite a few that are available. But the one that I suggest to use, at least for peony, is to get an aluminium foil and take each of the cutter. Okay, it's like a DIY making your own cup shape formers. I'm going to put the foil into the cutter and create a cup shape. So now the foil, I just need to add it deep inside. So this will be the cup shaper basically for that particular size. And similarly, I will use the foil and I will create the shape specific to each sized petal that I'm going to make. Okay, so your own cups are getting ready for the petals. So you can reuse the foil papers for making your own cups for different other flowers. You don't have to throw them after each use. So I have 4 shapes of the cups that are ready, made using the foil. And the cutters are there on the side. I'll tell you how you can lift. So for the same size, you have to do say about 6 of them, right? So you have to be reusing it. Now, I have the petals, I have the sausages. I need to be ruffling. I'm going to use a foam pad. I need a ball tool. I need a veiner. That's a silicone veiner again. It's a double-sided silicone veiner that I have. And glue. and brush. So the first step will be to have the silicone veinner. I'm going to start with the biggest petal. It's good that they are still a bit moist and it's not drying out. Okay, so you place the petal in the veinner on the bottom side of the veinner. And I'm going to get the longest sausage that was made for this particular size, right? So I'm just going to apply the glue in the middle and then place the sausage on the glue where I had brushed and place the top of the veinner. And I'm going to press it properly. I'm going to give it a good massage. And this peony is an open peony, so you have to just be careful about the sausage part. Now, the sausage is on the top, and for a open flower, as you lift, the sausage will be facing upward. And when you put it on the foam pad, you place it upside down and get your sausage facing downward. That is very important. Okay, and here I'm going to use a ball tool, and making ruffles on a flower is very important because on the rose you never ruffled. Now you use a ball tool, and again the ball tool will be half on the foam pad and half on the edge of the petal, and you need to go back and forth, putting good amount of pressure. Just stay in a smaller portion and go back and forth until that part ruffles up for you. Now, only when that layer, that area ruffles up, you move on to doing the ball tool onto the next layer. So you can see now this area is ruffled up while the other side is quite flat. So to do that, half of the ball tool on the foam pad, half of the ball tool on the edge of the petal. Don't hold the petal. Allow the petal to move freely and go around, work in smaller areas with good amount of pressure, continuing to go in the shape of the petal. Stay in one particular area of the edge of the petal until that particular place ruffles up, which means there is quite a bit of waves that are formed. Don't hold the petal, allow the petal to move. Half of the ball tool on the foam pad and half on the edge of the petal. Now this has got ruffled quite well. And once this part is done, with the sausage side down, I get my foil shaper that I had made. I'll get this petal, put this inside the cup that I had formed, and I will hold the position of the wire here. Press that wire and lift this up. With this wire that needs to be pressed, it needs to get bent in the shape of the former that I have made. And now I'll just make sure if I have cupped it well enough to take the shape. Okay, so now that is the shape that you are looking at. Okay, so inside the shaper that you had made, the petal is just gone sitting inside, and it's also ruffled and it's going to get cupped and dried out. Now, similarly, I am going to quickly do all the 4 petals. Now, if I have good amount of speed, then I could work on petals simultaneously because you have quite a few that you need to work on. So what I'm going to do, if I am fast enough, but if the petals dry out as you're working on like quite fast, then you have to go petal by petal. Now, the third one, glue. Sausage, top of the vena, give it a good massage. Take it out and then sausage side down on the foam pad. I finish up all of them and then do the ball tool part for all three of them together. Taking from the vena, ball tool side down and goes onto the foam pad. So, sausage side down. So as I pick it up from the vena, place the sausage side down on the foam pad. Pressing up, remove, place it upside down here. Now, let's just get the ball tool and ruffle them up. Now I have to be quick because they are out there drying. Let me just be a little more fast, which is like I'm going area by area, like smaller sections on the edge of the petal. My ball tool is half on the foam pad and half on the edge of the petal. And as I am ruffling, don't hold the petal, allow the petal to move. So get the shape up with the sausage side down, bend this wire and pull this up and let the petal get cupped and take its shape. Okay, so that size is done. Moving on to the next one. So if it sticks, you need corn flour. So just try and see if it works without corn flour and ruffles. Bend the wire. The bending the wire part is important, otherwise the petal is not going to get cupped the way we want. Okay. Last one. If it sticks, just remove. It's quite dry, so I feel corn flour is not necessary for me right now. And that will go. And this needs to dry, say at least for 2 to 4 hours before I'm ready to tape. Now, when you do what you're going to do, you'll make 6 of all the 4 size and allow them to dry. Now, how are we going to make more cups? Now, once you're done with this, you remove from that cutter and the cutter comes back to you. You can create more shapes using aluminum foil using the cutter. Now, let me just remove. It's like quite simple. So I'm just going to remove this. Sorry. Without changing the shape, just get this out. And the cutter is there separately and the foil shape is separate as a cup. Now, like so, make as many cups as you would want using the foil. Remove them from the cutter, and then the cutter is free for you to create more such cups to create more petals. Now, this I'm going to allow it to dry. Now you will make 6 of each of them, right? So petals are done, and then we have 2 more things to go for the peony. I mean, this could come in different colors based on the kind of peony that you work. Usually it is pink in color. I've just made it in green. So just making ovaries. So ovaries are going to look like this. Okay, and in even a thinner wire. So I think I will be using up 28 is what I'm going to use. It says 33 is quite thin. So somebody asked how to do the bud without it poking out. I'm going to show that now. So the gum paste is with me. I'm going to knead it up a bit. I'm going to use a cutter and have, because it is like quite small, right? A very small one is enough. So the wire is here. I'm going to bend the top and make a J hook. Okay. Make a J hook like that. And you have a glue. So dip the J hook in the glue. Just a little bit is enough. And knead the gum paste. Just make a teardrop kind of shape first, and using the broader side of the teardrop, okay, poke the broader side on the J hook and pinch the bottom. So the bottom is going to have a hole like that. Okay, and now pinch that part. Now having the J hook and pinching the bottom will not allow the ovary to come out. Also, similar way is what you will do with berries also. And after that has been fixed, I'm just going to make this end a bit pointy, and I'm going to just make it a little curved as well. And this needs to dry like 4-5 hours before we are just ready to tape that. So that will be the shape. You need 3 such ovaries. I have them made here with me, 3 of them, which I will just use it to tape right now. And the next thing that you need is stamens. These are artificial stamens that are available at baking supply store for sugar flowers, and any craft shops also have these artificial stamens. So the yellow ones go for peony, and they come in bunches like that. You need 3 such bunch, and I'm going to show how to make one of it. And you can take a wire, a thin one should be fine. So the wire is there with me, and I am going to fold this stamen, making sure both the heights are the same, and just press where there is this paper that's been tied. Now make sure they are the same height on either side. Okay, and put this wire in between here. Okay, put the wire here in between and bring the wire together and hold both the wires, both the ends of the wires together here. And again, bring the stamens back like that. Okay, and now I'm going to use something called floral tape. If you're seeing it for the first time, these tapes are self-adhesive tapes. You just take how much ever you need, and then you start taping the stamens a little above the wire where you're holding. I'll just put the tape on the underside of the stamen, hold the tape using my index finger and the thumb finger, and I need to keep stretching the tape. I need to keep stretching. As you stretch, you can see the color changes from dark to light, and only if you stretch, the glue, the self-adhesive tape's glue will start working, and you need to start taping a little above here. Okay, so the wire actually is here. You need to start taping from a little above and tape down. So that way we have wired the stamens as well. Bunches of the stamens are also created. Now, I have made a couple more already. So you need 3 such. Okay. And like I said, these are made yesterday. The ovaries were made yesterday, and you need 3 such. Now, once the petals are dried, I just have them in the foil cups. You can just remove from the foil and they are good to go. And that's how they're going to look from the foil after they are dried out. So I have one of each from the foil, not removed yet. So you get to know how it is to remove from the foil. Okay. So I have now all the petals here according to the sizes. So now I'm going to pick them up to tape and show. So the first size, second one, the third, and the fourth. So I have all of them to start taping. So let's just begin with the tape. So I have the floral tape here. So the first thing that you need to begin with is the ovary. So there are these 3, and you need to hold the 3 together. And all the 3 should be facing outward like that. And use the tape to tape the 3 together. I'm just going to make sure the height is the same for all 3. So after I've just made sure that it is like quite tight for me, the next thing I will do is the stamens. Now I just need to put the stamens in between the ovaries, and the height of it is a little taller than the ovaries. I'll just tape the stamen around. Place the next one in between the adjacent 2 ovaries, tape around. So once I have the ovaries and the stamens, I just need to adjust that so the bunch is not seen as separate bunches, but then the stamens are, arranged around evenly around the ovaries. Okay, so now I'll just begin with the first size. Now that the petals have been drying out in this shape, right? So the wire will just be like that. But now each of the petal, you just need to bend the wire, like holding it here and then bend it 90 degrees like that. So each petal, you just need to bend like so before you are ready to tape them. Bend it like that. Okay, so all of them have to be bent. You could do petal by petal as you go, or finish folding them like that. Like that, and then get ready to go around and then tape. Now I could be taping in all the 4 layers, but if you want smaller ones, you could stop at 2 layers only. So this particular petal, I'll just hold it very near to where the stamens taping is just started like that. So the wire has to just start from there, and then I will go around and then tape every petal after petal. So I'll do 1 round of taping completely for every petal, and then each petal I will do an overlap. I think I started with the second layer. This is my second layer. So I just want to start with my first one, the smallest one. I have 6 of them. So the first one and then the second one, I'll just do a bit of overlap as I go, because you need space for 6. So each of them, I'm going to place one next to the other and tape around. And one full taping around for every petal. And that is when the petals are going to be too strong. Otherwise, it's not going to hold up. You will be able to remove the petals individually if you're going to place like all 5 of them together and then tape around. So now all 6 have come together as a first layer. And now similarly, I'll just start with the second layer right under the first layer. I'm not going to leave gap at all. Bend it. Now that I'm going to bend it on the go, you could do that also, or bend all of them and then keep them ready. Bend the petal and just overlap adjacent to every other petal you have just added and taped around. To make space for 6 petals. And tape around tightly after each petal. And that'll be the 5th one. And then the last. Now, if you want a smaller peony, just stop with this. I also have a similar sized peony, because you don't want all of them to be like too big on the cake. I mean, you could have a couple of them small and a couple of them big. But this particular flower, I'll just make it up. So this could just be a smaller flower as well. But we'll just go ahead and then tape the sizes, all of them. Just try and make sure the wire is nicely concealed as you're going to tape around. Four is done, two more to go. The last one of the size. I'm bending the wire as I'm taping. You just need to observe that. Or you could just bend them all before you are ready to tape. So this is another hassle with completely dried out gum paste. They are just going to be a little brittle. But to me, I'll save the flour and humidity rather than have a soft and flexible gum paste, letting the flour kind of droop. You have two more to go. It's kind of filled up anyway, but I'm just going to see where the gaps are. So that is the last one. So the whole peony is just complete. And once I have all the petals done, I'm going to tape down, holding all the wires together like so. Taping all the wires together. And then you just get one long and thick stem. I'm just going to cover up the wires. So this excess I could just cut out. So you just have So the peony is just made, and like I said, we will airbrush this rather than dusting, but you could sit and dust all the petals individually as well. But to make it easier, I prefer airbrushing. If it is like, I have to make too many of the peonies and then that needs to go on a wedding cake. Okay, we'll take that later. Okay, so now airbrush, whoever is new. Is there anybody who has not seen an airbrush machine? Let me see if you guys are awake. Not seen an airbrush machine. Okay. So not used, first time. All right. So this, I think this will be the only place I'll be using airbrush also. So you have a cord for the electricity, which is this one. So this is the motor, okay. So that's the motor, and then there is a plug or the socket that is connected there. And this is the wire with the electrical end, and this needs to get plugged in, which I am going to do that. Okay, and the other end, there is like a huge tube or a wire, and that is connected to one end, and you have a okay. There is a switch here. When you just switch it on, you can see that this motor starts vibrating. Okay, and this tube is connected to the gun, the airbrush itself. And depending on what brand or the model you have, the trigger sometimes is here like the gun itself, or sometimes the trigger is here on the top. And either ways, when you just pull the trigger like this, pull the trigger after you have this compressor's button pressed, and you keep pulling the trigger, the color will start flowing out from this end. And now here is the cup in which you need to pour the color, and close the lid and switch on, and then pull the trigger here, and you have the color flowing out. Now you need a tissue to test the colors. Now for the motor to not vibrate, I'm just going to place it on a towel like that. Okay, it's running. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to have some airbrush colors, that is yellow and some brown. And I'm going to have some cups with me. And in that, I'm going to mix my colors. Also have a small bowl of water just in case I have to clean up the bowl of the airbrush. I have some vodka here in a small bottle if I have to dilute the color. Now into this small cup, I'm going to add my airbrush colors, a bit of yellow. I'm trying to give it brown, a little rustic shade. but just the brown will not work, or it will just make it like too sharp. So I just need to mix it up with the yellow itself. And to lighten that whole thing, the vodka is to lighten the color of whatever shade that I will need. I could add a little more color to make it dark. I'm mixing it up. Okay. And into this gun. So I need some tissue papers to test the color before putting it on the flower. I just want to have the tissue here. Now into this bowl, I'm going to open this, pour the color. And close the lid. Okay. Now on the tissue, I'm just going to test the color. Just pull the trigger, and the color should start flowing. Now when I'm going to pull the trigger, the color will come like so. When I release it, the color will stop coming out. Now if I want a constant flow of the color, I will keep the trigger on in one position, which is like a very mild flow will start coming out. And then I'll keep moving my hand. I'm not going to hold it in the same place. I'm going to hold it in the same place and it will get darker, right? Now, if I want an even tone, I'll just keep moving my hand like that. Now, if I want the color to stop, I will remove my finger from the trigger. If I want more stronger color, I will press it well, and then you have a strong color. If I want a light color, I will just press the trigger just a little bit, like so. If I want a stronger color, press well, and you have it strong. When you want a light, just go around, press a little bit. So the control is here in the trigger. And now this color works fine. Now what I'm going to do, pick the flower and then airbrush. Now let me start with the bottom. Okay. I'm just going to distance myself, distance the gun from the flower. And now I kind of like this color, how dark and deep this is just getting. So I'm just going to start here, distance myself. So I'm going to just distance myself, and you can see the center is just getting a bit darker. And I'm going to go around very slowly. My trigger, I'm just keeping very, very mild pressure, and just on the edges, because you once get it, make it very dark, it is difficult to lighten it. But just go around at this distance. Now the distance is this much for you to see. Keep moving the flower as well, and then you can just notice my hand is also moving. I'm not keeping my right hand just in a steady place. This looks light colored and nice, but if you wanted a little more darker, you can just get a little close and get the edge alone a bit dark. You can just play around with the airbrush machine. So you can see that this place is just gotten a bit darker, just giving a bit of depth here and there. Just add like a highlight. Now, once you have an airbrush machine and then try it, just don't be scared. You can just pile up a few places here and there. Just get a sheet of fondant and then go on and then try and do a few painting. You could just watch out some YouTube videos on what are the other areas where you can use airbrush for. It's like very, very interesting. But I kind of like to teach the airbrush on a peony because you have very intricate petals there, and you can kind of make it light as well, and then just go onto the edge of the petal and create some darker tones like that. So don't do this darker shade to the entire flower, or you're not going to make some depth in the flower. So I'm controlling the color that's throwing out with the trigger. Only if I press, the color will come out. If I don't press, the color will not come out. So I'm seeing where are the places on the edge I kind of need the darker shade. And that's exactly where I'll just go and point my gun and then pull the trigger. And what that will do, the stronger color just on the edge will give me depth to the flower. And the inside was all light in color. And so I kind of like how this is turned out, like from a very flat shade, which is something similar to this. Okay, and to this one, which is being just airbrushed. And we have created depth by having the stronger brown shade on the edge and a little bit more darker yellow, or yellow and brown together mixed up. And we have one beautiful peony quickly airbrushed. Now, if you're going to sit and petal dust this entire set of like 24 petals, is like going to be extremely tiresome. And now, you know, this adds like a beautiful set of flower which could go on your wedding cake, right? Now, we have finished making peony in a stretch, and I'm going to read through queries. Airbrush brand. What does it say? Flare. And I just picked it up from the baking supply store here in Chennai. So I'm, like I said, I'm not very brand specific, just anything works. Whatever you get. When Magic Colors has, Homecraft have, all of them have, you know, all these stuffs, but you can compare your prices. And sometimes even nebulizer works with just the gun, or you could also buy it from Amazon. Flowers that made using wires are advisable to eat, or it's just for decoration. See, you obviously cannot eat the wire, but then we can't be making flowers with clay and then put it on the cake. So obviously the petals here are made with sugar, and you're just going to eat that. It will be sweet, but it is not very appetizing to eat the hard petals from a sugar, right? So obviously it is sugar and you can eat. It's not that they are plastic. It's not that they are clay. So it's up to us, you know, but obviously wires and the stamens we can't eat. So it's just a craft and the skill and the art of how to work with edible medium to create edible art. So because we are cake artists, so we don't want to work with clay and put a clay flower on the cake and then say, hey, it's for decoration. So it's okay to make in clay. It's not okay to make in clay and put it on cake. So we make it with edible medium. It's okay to use wires, and we're not going to ask people to eat the wires. So that way, it's like that. Airbrush liquid colors won't dilute with gum paste. No, because that's vodka there. It's not water, right? And so the liquid that whatever just caught up here in the flower would evaporate quickly, and then gum paste will not be affected by that. Can use gel color. I suggest not to use gel color. Why? Because the gel color has a little bit of speck, and even if you're going to dilute it with the vodka, that little speck will go and clog the gun, the tip of the gun, it will clog, and then the gun will get repaired. So yeah, use airbrush colors. This is huge peony. Can we make even small peony taking less petals? Yeah, Pooja, join late. There is smaller. So first two sizes alone is the size, side angle. First two sizes is this. First three sizes is this size. And that is the 4 together. the small, and then the medium, and then we have the big that I had made. And this is all not colored, and that I had airbrushed it. Okay. And this is a huge pen. Can we use Evaporex instead of vodka? Yes, it was also already mentioned. You can use Evaporex instead of vodka if vodka is not okay for religious purposes. Any more questions related to peony? Or then we will see you in the next lesson, which is wafer paper flowers. Okay, so we'll clear up and we'll catch up on the wafer paper anemone.